I'm Damian Luszczymak, and I try to talk about Dockers and bring you some basic stuff that you can use at your company to build really fast environments in your company. And the first one is still the question: what is the difference between containers and VMs like Vagrant? One really important stuff is the overhead which you see. So you see if you use Vagrant or Parallels for VMware, you have a server, the host OS. So most of the time it's a Unix system. Then you have the hypervisor like Xen or Vagrant, and on top on this you have the guest OS operation system, and then the libraries, and after all this, only the Magento application in our case. The containers has a really small footprint, so the host OS is the host OS in this part. It's a small footprint with all libraries in one place, not duplicated, only once, and you have all your applications. And what Docker makes is API between the host and the application. So I like to tell you a story that happened now 3 weeks ago. I upgraded my Ubuntu, and we have a really huge database on our company, so over 5 gigs, and it takes normally 3 hours to import. And I use Percona 5.6, and I upgrade the stuff, and the database doesn't work. So it was Friday, I'm a lazy guy, and I need to start Monday at work with a fresh database. How to make it? I tried to import overnight the stuff, but the Percona server crashed every time. So I tried to solve it, but have not much time. So Percona doesn't know. Somebody doesn't know Percona. It mentions the first time. Percona is drop-in replacement for MySQL, and it's really fast on InnoDB. They make many patches to this. So InnoDB is really heavily used in Magento. Some transaction, all the stuff, master, but you can go from Percona back to MySQL and transverse, so you don't lose any data. So it's really fast, multi-threaded, but it doesn't work. So I started to think about to use Docker. I use another container system. And Docker, everyone knows the logo, the whale with the big containers on it. It's an American-based venture capital company, and they built abstraction class. So Docker is only abstraction for LXC. It's a really old container system, and C groups. C groups is something kernel related, and also in BSD inside. LXC comes from the Linux containers. So the history between this is OpenVZ. Many years ago, OpenVZ start to use containers, or the possibility to make containers. But it's normally the product goes bigger and bigger, and the fork basically. And the Linux containers also are used by Google. So Google App Engine also use Linux containers. And they built many stuff there in Docker inside is from Google or Red Hat, all the old OpenVZ LXC content base. So they make nothing new. How to start with Docker? It's pretty easy. They have a really good tutorial. So go on the Docker.io, please, and click on the Start Tutorial button. So you go to your terminal window, and you learn how to install images, to start containers, remove images, remove containers, and all the things behind to get in really 10 minutes to use your first application, then you download it. Which applications are available? So you see here some stuff from the homepage. So you can start with Redis or a normal Ubuntu system, Nginx. Whatever you like, there are a huge hub on repositories, and this is good, and the bad part is like a Magento Connect. So there are some good containers and some really bad containers. I have some example for this in the Magento area. And basically, if you search for the Magento, you see for Community Edition, for each version container, or even from, I think, Alan from eBay make for Magento 2 containers. So you can download once the image and make in half a minute or 2 minutes, you have a new environment running. How Docker works. So if you make your own Docker image, it's really complicated, but JIT, is this common here, JIT's version system? Yes, it is. Yeah, hopefully it is. So Dockers use a system with layers. So you start with, you see on top on the left, you see a OpenSUSE image. So it's a basic from OpenSUSE. And you put every command, you have a Docker file, you make your setup commands, and every command that you put in your file create a layer. So like get install Apache 2. So this is one layer. Enable rewrites, a second layer. Download Magento and instruct to the doc root, another layer. So you have many, many layers, and at the end you have your application or your container. If you see, so if you play around, you have many, many layers. So, and this is a problem with Docker. So the container goes bigger and bigger. So basically, your container has 200 MB. So Linux container, you don't need much more. But if you play around and publish this one, so I have an example. So you are at 2 gigabytes or 2.5. So you need to look, play around, and make a new one. And put all commands, if it's possible, in one line. So you have a really small footprint and a small container. So how does it look? I make a small, from terminal, a screenshot. If you type in Docker images, you see how my repositories are installed and downloaded. So in my case, it's Docker Magento Community Edition. I have MySQL image inside and Ubuntu, because every image used at the moment, Ubuntu is really fancy, not Debian anymore. So at the base image, any Ubuntu version. And as you see, the repository name is Ubuntu, but you have like in JIT tags. So tags is really important, like in Magento 1.6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2, whatever. And it's the same name, but other tags. You see how it's created and the size. And I talk about the size. You see the MySQL is 220 megabytes big. So there's a Magento dump, sample data is inside. Everything is in 230. And someone make a Docker Magento Community Edition image, and it's 2.5 gigabytes. So this is the worst case. So please, if you find something, comment then to the author to recreate the image to make it really it's smaller. How to start a Docker image? It's you need root rights. This is something you cannot go over it. Use run and start in interactive mode with the E. With the T is the name from the image. This is Ubuntu. And what I try to start is a bin bash, so a normal terminal in Unix. So in this case, only Magento starts only a terminal, only the application like Firefox, so only the Chrome, nothing behind this. And if you put this in the D, like it's a daemon, so it's behind. If you forget the daemon, you close the terminal and the Docker container is stopped. So it's not running in the background. It's really important. So everything is good. We got the S container running. And if you don't know, I mentioned this once and you learn this in the hard way. So if you stop your Docker container, you lost all data. So if everything inside and you save data or play with your Magento demo store, you stop the image and start again. You have one entry point, and you lost the data between the time. I show you one way to save the data, but normally this is a Docker behavior. On container, you can see, so images is like ISO image. You can have this image, you need to have images, but then you have the containers. So you can create so many containers how you can get on your computer. It's a container ID. You see the image name between. You see which command is running. So in commands, how long is created. Maybe the exit status is also important. If you run tests in Magento, you see if you make a port mapping. And the fancy feature from Docker is if you don't give the Docker image a name, Magento creates names like romantic loverlands and tender Rosalind, all the stuff. It's really fancy naming, random. It's fun, but normally it's really useless. Okay, so you lost the data. It's really bad, or you don't have many space left. So it's two really important commands, and you don't learn in the tutorial. To remove containers or to remove images, like the crappy one with 2.5 gigabytes. So remove is only the container, and remove I is to remove the image. So please no typos or stuff, and you're good. So for port binding, we need Apache and MySQL from the localhost. So we need to bind the port. The standard MySQL port is 3306, and it's basically I run my MySQL container with the D as a daemon. Sure, I still running the MySQL with the parameter P. I make a port mapping, and foobar is the container name or the container from the image. So he create a container, and I have MySQL or Percona server running in a container, but still lost data. So if I stop the container, the data is reset to nothing. So how to use Docker and data storage and persistence? What we love. Docker has option to make volumes. You can have volumes with a normal symlink. So you have with the parameter v. In the first part, you have on your hosts, so the host directory, and the second part is mounted to the Docker directory. So in my case, it's the same. It's only for the example. Basically, varlib MySQL is a default part. So if you then start Docker, change the database or put data inside or delete data inside, stop Docker, Docker save all the data to your hard disk from your host system, and if you start up, everything is good. But it's not practical. I cannot give my college the directory. It's really bad in the team. So Docker also it's possible to make data containers. So not only applications, so data. So in this case, you give hopefully you give the container a name, so you remember. So in this case, still I give the first data inside and the name, and yeah, the port is really important. This part in data container, the port 22 for SSH is needed to share the stuff, and then you're fine. With this Docker volume, you can share your database with other colleges. So you make one image from your application, and you can share only the 300 MB or 5 gig in my case, and it's faster than to import the stuff over 3 hours. So it's 50 minutes versus 3 to 4 hours. Really important in this case is many Ubuntu, Debian, or SUSE. It's really important that NAT is implemented. in the kernel because I use at my home IP46, so I don't have it not implemented in the kernel. So if you use IP46, you need to enable NAT. Also namespaces. It's not every distribution enabled namespaces. In C groups, I think it's standard stuff. So now some Magento 1 examples. What you can do with containers. Hopefully you can see one example. So you can abstract everything. So in abstracting, Magento abstracts a lot. And you can you see this what this guy make with Docker in Magento. He abstract everything. So from HTTP on the first on the left line, make then fast CGI PHP. This can be also be H4M or all the fancy PHP interpreter in the new world. They have MySQL container. They have a data volume container and also a file share. So if you start this cluster from images or containers, so it's really huge the first time and very complicated. But you can test all the stuff like on your live server. Varnish goes to Apache. Apache gets the files there. Samba, file sharing media, all this stuff. And Elencan makes the same. And this is the bad example. The Docker Magento Community Edition comes from Ellen, the bigger one. I write him, and hopefully he push a new image. If you like Magento 2, the last presentation was about Magento 2. It's also really easy to use Magento 2. It takes me here with this Wi-Fi only 10 minutes downloads the stuff. And everything is fine. It's really fine. Everything is set up, so you can use it. So why is Docker fame? Or I don't like Docker, but I make a presentation about Docker. But Docker basically make old stuff in new shiny way. So it's really common, I think, at the moment. Get too much money, and so. Docker is it's a hype. I don't prefer to use Docker in a server environment on live side because it's really slow. The abstraction layer is another abstraction layer on your host system, and the file system is also abstracted with our own file system. So basically don't use it live. So only for developers or small instances in a local system to test stuff, but please don't come to any idea make something live. You can, I know, because Google App Engine also supports 2 weeks right now Docker, and Amazon also uses, but the performance is not the same like you set up it probably with your server, all this stuff. That's it basically, and I hope you get some questions because I have only 5 minutes left. This is correct? Yeah. Yeah, to be on time and how community and open source works is I get still the Percona 5.6 bug, and first I Google many hours why the Percona fails. Then Ubuntu has a Launchpad net is ticket system, and I ask, it's a newbie in MySQL world, why crashed the Percona, and they told me, give me please an example from your import. It's really easy from Magento, and then find out the binary was corrupted. So now you can use the binary in the newest version from Ubuntu. Before it's crashed, and if you this is how normally open source works. It takes only 3 days. I think 3 core developers from Percona looked at the tickets, comments, and after this was everything fine. So okay, now a Q&A, and if you don't have any questions, hopefully we see each other on the party, and maybe in Germany. This is a Moritzbastei in Germany, Magento Germany. So it's a really nice party location if you prefer to make more party. Thank you. Okay, you're more party, right? No questions.
What's the difference between Docker or, for example, VirtualBox or?
Yeah, so basically, it's one big, the first slide. The overhead. The overhead I use in other agency, we use Vagrant and Chef or Puppet. It works, everything works, but it was like I told the people, the product manager, it's like you buy a Formula One car and put worse thing on it or heavy stuff, so you make Formula One car slow. Because we have so much RAM and CPU, and we make it slow with visualization. So this is the right thing is still a small footprint, but you get better performance, faster setup, all the things. You can make both in Vagrant mistakes and in Docker mistakes, but I think Docker is still a little bit faster in this case. Oh, on the left here.
Hi, what do you think about Vagrant for Docker? Did you try it or?
It's possible.
I mean, because I read something that they are developing a special kind of version of Vagrant optimized for Docker, but I'm not sure about it.
No, so for me, I switched to I use the Linux containers. I switched because the overhead. So, and if you, I don't know how fast this is. I'm not sure. I use a pure Docker implementation.
Okay. Thanks.
So I can tell you all this stuff.
How much time consumed is updating the configuration in your image in real? For example, I would like
creation or update?
Excuse me?
Creation the image or
update?
Update.
I mean update. Yeah.
Also basically, one person updates the image and shares this with all college on the file server. So it depends how big it is. But normally you have your setup script done.
For example, I would like to install some library to the PHP. So how much it will?
It's only one additional line and create new.
Yeah. So it should be fast.
It's
right?
normally and if you download Ubuntu once, so the base image is cached. So normally it runs cache, and makes a new line at this under the layer.
I see. And the second question is, do you keep your app code inside the image or?
Yes, it's closed container. So you need every time app code get update to get the newest package list.
I see.
And
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thanks.